Padmasambhava. What lies beyond the final breath? Does the self vanish into nothingness, or pass through gateways beyond our understanding? Welcome, soul traveler, to the ultimate mystery. Today we explore one of the deepest and most cryptic texts in Tibetan Buddhism, the Bardo Thodol, known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Picture a guide walking with you through the most mysterious points of existence. That is the role of the Bardo Thodol. But it's far more than just an end-of-life manual. It's a map, a spiritual roadmap for what occurs after death. So prepare yourself, as we step through this portal together, decipher its messages, and try to grasp a little more about what it means to be. The Bardo Thodol was created by Padmasambhava, a legendary, almost mythical figure in Tibetan Buddhism. Born in India, he's regarded as the one who introduced Buddhism to Tibet in the 8th century. Tibetan tradition honors him as Guru Rinpoche, meaning precious master. But Padmasambhava wasn't only a monk. He was a profound spiritual teacher, a yogi skilled in mystical methods and esoteric knowledge. The Bardo Thodol came from his wish to guide both the living and the dead, showing them a path to liberation even after their final breath. From early childhood, Padmasambhava showed remarkable spiritual gifts, eventually recognized as a Mahasiddha, someone who achieves an advanced spiritual state, developing siddhis, or powers, believed to be miraculous. Tibet's king Trisong Detsen invited him to help spread Buddhism and spiritually unify the nation. At that time, Tibet was a land full of shamanic and animist traditions rooted in the Bon religion, the native spiritual practice. This diverse and chaotic spiritual backdrop made spreading Buddhism a challenge. When Padmasambhava arrived, he met strong resistance from local spiritual forces. The spirits and deities tied to Bon opposed Buddhism, and Padmasambhava used his knowledge of Tantra and magic to tame them. This merging of Bon elements into Tibetan Buddhism became vital for building a strong spiritual foundation. He then established Sami Monastery, Tibet's first Buddhist monastery, and began teaching deep truths about the mind, reality, and the cycle of rebirth, samsara. Tibetan Buddhism views death not as an end but as a transition, a window for spiritual freedom. Padmasambhava understood that when we die, the mind enters a rare state, free from the body and open to ultimate truth. He saw this as a chance for awakening, though most people, confused by fear and illusion, miss it. His goal was to create a guide, something read by others at a person's deathbed or studied during life, to prepare the mind for the bardos, the stages that follow death. He wanted to reduce suffering and open the path to enlightenment, even when all seems uncertain. This deep compassion shaped the Bardo Thodol. Knowing many wouldn't reach enlightenment in life, he saw death as a final opportunity. So he gave teachings to help souls recognize the clear light, the mind's purest form, at death's moment. The 3 stages of Bardo Thodol. The Bardo Thodol describes 3 bardos, or phases, each soul must go through. The Chikhai Bardo, the moment of death. During the Chikhai Bardo, the soul undergoes the death process as the body breaks down and consciousness is released from physical form. Once that breakdown ends, the soul encounters the primordial clear light depicted as a stunning, limitless, and pure light. This clear light reflects the mind's true nature, a state of unchanging, boundless awareness without fear, craving, or division. Some may call it the higher self or soul or mind. There are many names for this infinite peace and oneness. For the practiced soul, the Chikhai Bardo offers a direct shot at liberation. If it recognizes the light as its own essence, it immediately reaches nirvana, no need to enter further bardos. This recognition doesn't rely on rites or dogma. It's a pure, direct realization where the mind sees itself fully and truthfully. At this point, all identities, karma, and mental patterns fall away. But if one is unprepared, the light's sheer power can cause fear. Instead of seeing it as truth, the mind may see it as a threat due to attachments and fear. In that case, the soul withdraws, missing liberation, and moves into the next bardos, encountering deeper illusions based on karmic patterns. The Chönyid Bardo, the Bardo of visions. Carl Jung once said gods and demons are parts of our unconscious, unavoidable until we see them as part of ourselves. In the Chönyid Bardo, the soul exists without a body, in a realm where form has no limits. Here, it sees mental projections, some divine, others disturbing. These visions reflect the soul's own repressed desires, fears, and karma. They show up in 2 main ways, peaceful and wrathful forms. During the peaceful phase, the soul meets calm deities that mirror enlightened traits within. These might look like Buddhas or beings of light, radiating the soul's positive energy. Their presence is calming, but for an unprepared mind, they can feel foreign or confusing, causing the soul to back away in doubt. If that happens, it enters the wrathful stage, facing intense and scary visions. These figures represent anger, cravings, and fears, often appearing monstrous. Yet they aren't outside forces, they're inner energies, reflections of the mind's unresolved issues. In this bardo, the mind isn't tied to a body, so its inner energies explode into vivid, dreamlike visions. These are more intense than normal dreams because they're unfiltered and sharp. The Chönyid Bardo is a chance to learn and awaken. Each vision is a lesson, a piece of the self needing to be healed or released. If the soul can stay aware and recognize that all these forms, both beautiful and terrifying, are just mind-created, it can drop fear and achieve liberation. The Bardo Thodol tells us to focus on the clear light, the mind's core, described as a vast, radiant essence. Realizing this light is the path to full freedom, since it's the true nature of all beings. It's the sun behind the clouds of illusion. If the soul can see through the visions, it escapes the rebirth cycle. But this isn't easy for most. The visions are emotionally powerful, making it hard to see past them. That's why the text urges spiritual training during life, to let go of illusions and understand the mind. With practice, even when facing the intense Chönyid visions, one can focus on the light and find peace. Fear and desire are the biggest blocks to liberation. The wrathful visions especially stir fear, since they show the raw parts of the mind. That fear leads to separation, stopping the soul from recognizing the visions as its own. Some souls may run from these forms, or cling to peaceful ones, both reactions keeping them in the cycle of rebirth. To break that cycle, the soul must see that none of the visions are real on their own. In Tibetan Buddhism, this is called shunyata, or emptiness. A mind that remembers emptiness in this bardo can watch all visions without being caught up in them. They're just passing appearances of the mind's energy. So this phase isn't a punishment, it's a revelation. The soul faces itself in the clearest mirror. It's a test that shows who's ready for freedom and who needs to return for more growth. The Sidpa Bardo, rebirth in the final phase, the Sidpa Bardo, the soul reaches a critical point, choosing its next life, guided by its stored karma, all thoughts, actions, and intentions. Everything before leads here, what we carry shapes where we go. Entering Sidpa Bardo, the soul has already gone through Chikhai's dissolution and Chönyid's inner projections, and now the soul enters a denser psychic state, where the pull toward rebirth becomes stronger, fueled by lingering fears and attachments. According to Tibetan Buddhism, this longing is what propels the soul to seek a new physical form and another cycle of life. In the Sidpa Bardo, consciousness is shaped by karmic imprints, subtle traces left by past actions. These imprints work like magnets, drawing the soul toward experiences that reflect its inner condition. For example, if fear dominates the soul's energy, it may be led toward a life where that fear will resurface. Likewise, intense longing or unresolved emotions stir up an energetic force that molds the soul's next incarnation. During this phase, the soul witnesses visions tied to the process of rebirth. These visions often involve images of couples in union, symbolizing the birth of new life. At this point, the soul is drawn to select a new body, its choice unconsciously shaped by karmic tendencies and emotional patterns. The Bardo Thodol urges the soul to stay centered and clear-minded when faced with these visions, to avoid falling blindly into an unwanted rebirth. For those who can remain composed and aware, the Sidpa Bardo still holds a final opportunity for freedom. Liberation is still possible, choosing not to reincarnate but to move beyond the cycle entirely. This is the ultimate aim for a spiritual seeker. Rather than reincarnating under the grip of illusion, one must recognize these images as fleeting projections of the mind, temporary and without true form. Throughout the Sidpa Bardo, a strong urge to take a new body builds, described in the Bardo Thodol as a kind of psychic storm. It's as if the instinct to continue existing, to be someone again, becomes all-consuming. This decision isn't a conscious one, but rather a deep, primal pull where the soul's state of mind shapes the nature of the next life. The body the soul ends up with reflects what the mind still needs to face or complete. Each rebirth, in this light, is seen as another chance to grow spiritually. the new body fits the soul's karmic and spiritual needs. However, many fail to recognize this chance and end up in painful lives, repeating suffering. But if the soul can pierce this illusion, it can dissolve into the clear light, the purest form of mind, escaping the cycle entirely. The Bardo Thodol emphasizes that preparation for this moment must begin during life. By reflecting on our desires and fears now, we can better understand the hidden forces steering our path. Meditation and contemplating death help train the mind to remain unshaken by the intense experiences of the Sidpa Bardo. So, the Sidpa Bardo brings a powerful truth: life and death are intertwined, and rebirth is simply a mirror of the choices and perceptions we carry. Letting go of attachments leads to liberation, a state beyond rebirth, because the illusion of a fixed self no longer exists. The Bardo Thodol isn't just a religious guide or mystical text, it's a tool for self-discovery, a reflection of the mind, and a map of our fate. It shows us that death is both an ending and an opening. As Ram Dass said, when death comes, one question remains: how deeply did you love? In this spirit, the Tibetan Book of the Dead invites us to look within. Are we truly ready for the last journey? Can we release all we think we are? Perhaps by embracing these teachings, we not only prepare for death, but also learn how to really live. If this exploration has touched you, share the video and subscribe to the channel. Let us know in the comments what fascinates you about the afterlife. The path of inner truth is long, and together, we can travel through life's greatest mysteries. Thank you for watching.